Welcome to the channel, everybody. Let's get after it.
Off topic, search giants in Kenya. Got you. What's up, y'all? So if you don't know who this is Bradley, aka the Gen Z Goliath. His words, not mine. Shout out to Dr. D for sending me this information. So Bradley and two other giants then popped up out of nowhere, y'all. They showed up in Kenya, welcomed, treated like celebrities. Women love him, as you can see. Stardom. So usually in Kenya, people know exactly what tribe you're from. You have birth document. You have a lot of paperwork. Bradley did not. They just accepted him still. Bradley definitely a Nephilim, y'all. Like, treated like a king. No document. Showed up out of nowhere. He just got his first pair of shoes the other day. He got some custom boots now, I think, but he usually had some sandals he's walking around with. He probably made himself. Look at Bradley's skull. Look at his jaw. Us saying Bradley is not the same thing. Did y'all see the video of Bradley eating the pizza? He didn't know what the pizza was at first. Then he was looking around at everybody else to see how to eat it, and he definitely copied them. Y'all, what's going on? Are we living in the end of times? So Bradley and his homies, mind you, I don't know if they even know each other. They're all three of them is over 8 feet tall. Nephilim. For sure.
I just heard about this guy for the first time this morning, and I went and watched about a dozen videos of him, and he is absolutely being treated like some celebrity. Apparently, he's even got a Netflix deal already, and he's supposed to be headed to the US. And yes, he is tall, but I don't think he's like the tallest guy in the world or anything. I've seen several videos and photos of him next to people who are roughly the same height as him. However, this guy does not appear to me like he is only constructed out of human DNA. Just look at his facial features or structure and the size of his feet. I found a video on TikTok where he's trying to trade shoes with a guy who looks like he's the exact same height as him, and he can't even get his foot halfway into this guy's shoe. It looks like he's trying on a child's shoe. This guy has to have Nephilim DNA in him. I'm going to keep digging and see if I can't figure out where this guy's been hiding for the past 20 years. I'll let y'all know if I come across anything promising.
January 1st, 2024, there was an incident that occurred at the Miami Bayside Mall in which we'll say the credible eyewitnesses reported seeing 3 large, tall extraterrestrials that were 8-9 feet tall that seemed to emerge from a clothing store in this mall, which sent the entire population of the mall panicking, running, screaming out of the mall. The duty officer on charge with Miami Police Department called up every single police officer on duty and car in Miami at the time, which was like 123 cars and cops, which that goes completely against all known law enforcement protocols. So you would never, it would be against police protocol to send every cop to that mall unless it was something incredibly serious. And the official story of 30 kids or whatever fighting each other with sticks does not qualify to call up 123 cars with 123 cops in it.
Everyone has a cell phone. Why were there no actual photographs or videos just from civilians?
As they were leaving the mall, the cops had surrounded the mall and were stopping people and checking their phones and deleting photos and video. Eyewitnesses claim to have seen 3 very tall, non-human figures, and again, estimates that the eyewitnesses were saying were between 8, 9, maybe as tall as 10 feet.
Technology we're very aware of, Randy, you and I, about these holographic imaging, that they can do this all over the place. Do you think there's any possibility that this may have also had something to do with a test of some of these technologies we have?
Well, it's certainly possible that was the case.
Because where did they go? It was like they were there, and then the reports are saying, well, they just disappeared.
We have reports that because Navy personnel showed up immediately via portal and portaled them out of there very, very quickly. Naval Space Command personnel showed up through portal and then portaled them out of there right quick. Miami police officer, and he says, you know, I can't answer that question. Well, then we're talking about something occurring that they have to keep covert and keep classified, which is not the official cover story at all. Why else would you say that if, you know, the cover story was actually true? The only reason you would say that is because the story that you don't want people to know is true is actually true. Nobody who has gone on the record, no body cam footage, no dash cam footage, normally in an incident of that size, you would have one cop that would go off the record, one cop that would talk to the local media and go off the record, but nothing, not one. That's more suspicious than the information would be. The lack of information turns out to be highly suspicious in an incident where you have 123 cops on the ground. You should have a lot of information.
For the public, yeah.
You should have 123 body cams. You should have 123 dash cams. You should have 123 cops that had to fill out a report that's all part of the public record. No one can see the incident reports. No one can see the body cams. No one can see the dash cams. That's a cover-up of a story that's not the cover story.
That is something that never really occurred to me. When do they send out the entire police force for a singular event? Even when there's like an active shooter situation or a bank heist or something going on, or even when the president of the United States is driving through the city, they never dispatch the entire police force for anything. What if it's a false call or a diversion tactic to get all the police focused on one location so someone can keep the cops away from an area where they're planning on committing a crime? Then they come out and tell us that it was just kids causing a commotion, that a group of about 50 teenagers caused all this whenever they were in the mall fighting and acting like hooligans and firing off fireworks. Give me a break. If that police force broke protocol this bad for what turned out to just be a bunch of kids firing off bottle rockets, then this entire police force needs to be under heavy scrutiny. There's just no way that they ain't lying to us with this narrative. Hey, don't forget to click like and subscribe if you haven't already, and check out my merch store at barry-stepp.com.
If space is a vacuum, why didn't the lunar module explode like a soda can in a vacuum chamber? Let's get real for a second. NASA claims the lunar module was pressurized inside while floating in the vacuum of space. But here's what they don't tell you. Put a sealed soda can in a vacuum chamber and it crumples. Put a balloon in and it expands until it pops. Why? Because the pressure inside is fighting against the total lack of pressure outside. That's physics. It doesn't care about what you believe. So here's the question. If a thin soda can explode under vacuum pressure, how did a glorified tinfoil tent like the lunar module survive the vacuum of space without bursting like a balloon? The truth is simple. It didn't survive because it didn't go. We've been sold a sci-fi fairy tale with aluminum foil props and studio lights. The lunar module wasn't built to survive the vacuum of space. It was built to look like it did. There's a reason we've never seen a real-time takeoff or re-entry from the moon in modern clarity. Because it wasn't real. Flat Earth doesn't need fake modules and CGI. It demands real-world observation. And what we observe breaks the space narrative into pieces. Just watch Action Labs experiment with a soda can in a vacuum chamber. You'll see it implode as soon as the external pressure disappears. And that's just a soda can. Now imagine the lunar module pressurized at 5 psi, supposedly sitting in a near-total vacuum. Where's the regulator? Where's the reinforcement? Why didn't it swell, buckle, or tear apart? No blast marks on the moon, no crater, no dust. Just a magical craft that broke every law of known physics and somehow worked perfectly on its first trip. We're not asking for miracles, we're asking questions, and the silence is deafening. You don't have to believe me. Test it, question it, watch real experiments, not cartoon rockets. If NASA's story can't survive a soda contest, what else are they lying about?
I'm pretty well convinced that they're lying to us about pretty much everything at this point. NASA tells us that the atmosphere on the moon is a near vacuum. It's supposedly about 10 trillion times less dense than the atmosphere here on Earth. Just sitting in that atmosphere alone would have likely at least deformed that craft. But the astronauts were able to just walk around freely with no discernible issues. Wouldn't the astronauts themselves die instantly whenever they stepped out into a vacuum? And how did they run tests beforehand to be able to give assurances to these astronauts? How did they convince these guys that they had all the math right and they knew exactly how much pressure internally to put in these spacesuits to keep them from just turning into a mush whenever they stepped out of this aluminum foil spacecraft? The more I question this stuff, the dumber I feel for believing so much of it for so long.
Said gravity is mass attracting mass, which is objectively not the case anymore. It can't be the case. The Earth quite literally cannot be a ball that orbits the sun with mass attracting mass. Newtonian mechanics can't exist, and I'm sure we'll get into that. And I don't know why people keep invoking it, but one thing I want to point out that I think is an easy way to kind of go ahead and end the conversation is we have an electric field on the Earth. Okay, so we have a uniform electric field. It's vertical on the Earth, and you can measure the electric field, right? It has equipotential lines. It's 100 volts per meter, meaning there's an equal increase of potential every 100 or every meter. It's 100 volts, right? So there's equipotential lines within a vertical electric field on the Earth, and it's uniform. Okay, this is physically impossible on a sphere. You can take a conductive sphere and put it in an electric field, and because the charge is distributed radially, it will not be uniform. This is a fact. You cannot have a uniform electric field on a sphere. So the very electric field we observe on the Earth proves that the Earth is in fact not a sphere, because again, there will be spherical radial distribution of charge. What you would have is concentric circles serving as your or equipotential surfaces or lines, and then you would not have a uniform electric field. Now, just to read Feynman here to explain it, another thing that can be measured in addition to the potential gradient that we just discussed is the current in the atmosphere. The current density is small, about 10 microamps, crosses each square meter parallel to the Earth. The air is evidently not a perfect insulator, and because of this conductivity, a small current caused by the electric field we have just been describing passes from the sky down to the Earth. Okay, and you can measure it, you can run a generator off of it actually. Now, the question would be, if there's constantly a downward electric current on the Earth, would that create a downward bias? Would downward electric pressure be caused by the downward electric current? The answer is, of course, yes. Yes, we would have a downward bias because there's always a downward electric current. To get more specific, although the electric current density in the air is only a few microamps per square meter, there are very many square meters on the Earth's surface. The total electric current reaching the Earth's surface at any time is very nearly constant at 1800 amps. This current, of course, is quote-unquote positive. It carries a plus charge to the Earth. We have a voltage supply of 400,000 volts with a current of 1800 amps, a power of 700 megawatts at any given time. Now, that's assuming the size of the Earth is actually greater than that. So to kind of break this down, I hope everyone's following. People refer to the fact that things fall as gravity. That is allegedly the effect of gravity. That is little g. It is 9.8 meters per second squared. That is not gravity, as in the cause of things going down. It is things going down. You can actually solve for that with kinematic equation. You can actually solve for that using Coulomb's law. There's an equivalence that has been proven in the electromagnetic nature of gravity, a paper written by Konstantin Meiss, who sat on the board of Nuclear Physics Institute, right? That you can actually have an equivalence with electrostatics. Now, important to note, everything does not fall at 9.8 meters per second squared. That is a misnomer. People are taught everything falls at the same rate and mass attracts mass. It's a very simple layman way to explain things to people when they're younger in school. The reality is things fall at different rates. What a coincidence that the electric field creating the electric current is very nearly constant, just like the rate at which things fall. So that right there explains things falling on the Earth and why there's a downward bias, why it's nearly constant but it fluctuates. Gravimeters have proven that things fall at different rates during thunderstorms, and mass and quote-unquote gravity have been excluded as a possible explanation. I have all of these papers. I'll drop them as they're requested. In addition, so that gets rid of the spherical claim. You cannot have a uniform vertical electric field with equipotential surfaces on a sphere. That's physically impossible.
Just an observation, the guy in the debate that's supposed to be on the side of the globe, he literally looks like he's regretting agreeing to having this conversation because there's math involved. That was hilarious. I think I'm kind of starting to get convinced that there's something to this whole argument about the Earth being flat. And I'm not saying I fully believe it yet, but there is a ton of things that just don't make sense, that just don't add up until you picture our planet as a flat plane. Like the Michelson-Morley experiment that proved that our Earth is not moving. It's completely stable. That I do believe. And all this stuff he's talking about here, it would just make more sense if it's simply things are high up and they fall down. You wouldn't need gravity to account for that if the Earth was a flat plane and there really was an up and there really was a down. And one final point, if we supposedly had the technology to send men to the moon, and we have cameras orbiting all over the place that can pick up a picture of your kid digging a hole in the backyard, why do we not have any photos from space that are zoomed in on the bottom of the Earth showing people walking around upside down? We have the camera technology available to pull that off, and it's already floating overhead. Why do we not have those photos and videos? That would end the debate immediately.
Let's assume Trump isn't compromised. But the intelligence communities come to him and they basically say, this is us, this is what we do. There are a lot of people here that are going to go down if you out this. And the reality is you're not going to out this. And I would like to take this a little further. There's a version where the intelligence community comes in, they go, you don't really run the country. You get to make a lot of decisions, and that's fine. But you look the other way at the things we do, and we look the other way at the things you do. And then once the things you do cross paths with the things that we do, we remind you that you don't really run the country. And maybe that's what, and I'm not trying to give Putin credit here, but remember when Putin said that thing about, like, you know, every American president, what is it? Every American president has these great ideas, and then once he gets elected, the real men that run the country, the men in suits, walk in and tell him what the deal is.
Oh, I was not even thinking about that. I was thinking about how Putin kind of told the oligarchs whenever he took over, like, this is my...
Oh, yeah.
And I was thinking Trump could have done that.
So, and that wouldn't be that shocking to me, because the idea that, like, we have a new person running the country every 4 years or 8 years, and they plot the course of America for the next 300, is kind of absurd. Right? Like, there has to be some version of permanent government. Obviously, it's not established, and they're not, like, speaking about, they're not shining a light on it. But, like, there must be some version of this permanent government that, like, maintains the course and does stuff to maintain the course, just like every other country that's run as a dictatorship does stuff to maintain the course. So it wouldn't be shocking to me that that happened. Maybe he's involved, maybe he's not involved, but he could have had a conversation. They could have come up to him and be like, you know, we missed on purpose, right? Like, they could have sat him down in a room and be like, you know, we missed on purpose, right? And he goes, what? He goes, the guy who had the perfect shot on you from 100 meters away or whatever, like, we missed on purpose. You didn't look at a sign. Looking at the sign got you closer. But we missed on purpose. And we won't the next time, unless you tell people to look the other way about this Epstein. To me, I would not be surprised at all if the CIA and the FBI actually are running the country. And we get to bicker about little. They go, oh, let them fight about abortion. You know, let them fight about hate speech. Let them fight about this. But the real decisions, like if we're going to send more aid to Ukraine, if we're going to send more aid to Israel, those decisions are already made because we continue to make them. Despite Americans not wanting them, the same decision gets made, right? Over and over again.
Yep. This makes so much sense. I've long thought that something like this may be going on. There's an old episode of the Joe Rogan podcast. I can't remember who the guest was, so I have no way of telling you which episode it was. But Rogan says something to the effect of, what if when you assume the office of the presidency, you get taken to a room, you sit at a table with the heads of the intel community, and they just simply slide a photo of JFK across the desk and tell you something like, we would greatly appreciate your cooperation and your support. Essentially telling the president, you're not really in control. You don't have the power to change anything unless it's something we already wanted to change. As vocal as Trump is, though, about his mistreatment from the intel agencies, I genuinely don't think the guy could sit there and be quiet about it if this is what actually took place. This certainly would explain, though, why it seems like every president lies to get themselves into office, but then whenever they assume the office, they essentially immediately change their entire platform of what they ran on.
Over. Okay, Roger, all right, Neil, we just wanted a narrative such that we can, when we get the playback, we can sort of correlate what we're seeing. Thank you very much. Well, we cut out the sun coming in some of the other windows into the spacecraft, so it's looking through the number one window, and there isn't any reflected light. We only have one window that has a view of the Earth, and it's filled up with a TV camera. South America becomes invisible just beyond the Terminator or inside the shadow. We can see with gas, big white bands of major cloud formations across the Earth. Roger, the ATC is working real well. The F-22 looks good, over. Apollo 11, Houston, did you copy, over? He copies, Charlie. Roger, your transmissions the last couple of times have been about 2 by, over. Okay, how do you read me now? Right, you're 5 by now. coastline. Now we're coming in. Can't quite make out who that had.
If that wasn't a smoking gun, then I've never seen one. I came across this footage in an episode of the Danny Jones podcast where he's interviewing Danny Sybil. And he says in the podcast that he's been sitting on this footage since 1999. And back then, he was paid thousands of dollars for exclusivity rights from NBC, and they had intended to air this footage. And then, in the final hour, NBC gets a phone call from somebody telling them, if you air this, we will pull the plug on your entire network. You can't argue with this footage. They weren't halfway between the Earth and the Moon. They were in low Earth orbit filming some clouds through a porthole window. It was all faked.
Everything is staged. Look at the Iranian parliament and compare it to the 2025 Oscars stage. We see the same Masonic symbolism. Movies are scripted, but so is politics. You see actors on stage, but who's writing the script?
I am not the Tucker Carlson expert on Iran.
You're a senator who's calling for the overthrow of the government.
You're the one who claims
about the country.
Albert Pike, a 33rd degree Freemason, predicted it back in 1871. The Third World War will be triggered so that Islam and Israel destroy each other. A planned war designed to exhaust nations and impose a global Luciferian religion. This chaos was encoded long ago. The number 33 and the pyramid are the signatures of Freemasonry. Even George Washington was a member. But at the top, it's not God you find. It's Baphomet. The House of the Temple in Washington has 33 columns, each 33 feet tall, with a pyramid and a double-headed eagle, the same eagle used by the Russian Empire, yet they make you believe they're on opposing sides. The Israeli Supreme Court, again, a pyramid donated by the Rothschilds, and once more, the Iranian Parliament, a pyramid with 33 windows. Coincidence? I don't think so. After all, who owns the world? BlackRock, the Black Cube, just like the Islamic Kaaba, Jewish Kabbalah, or Trump Tower. All aligned around the same symbol. And what do you find at the center of a Masonic lodge? A black cube, the cube of Saturn. A master mason knows the script, the others just follow it, and as long as you pick a side, you're doing exactly what they want you to do. You become a willing extra in their movie.
If it's not obvious to you yet that all of these biblical prophecies are coming true, or that all of the leaders of the world are all following Satan's lead, I cannot implore you enough to start looking into this. I think this is the absolute top of the conspiracy pyramid. The one final truth. The entire world is crumbling right now, and it's clearly all being done by design. Things aren't just going off the rails because everybody forgot how to get along. All of these leaders from all these different countries are all in this same club together, and it's not a club you want anything to do with. It is so frustrating watching the masses just be completely manipulated by these people, and they're falling right in line, rioting in the streets over a bunch of nonsense so that they feel like they have some sort of importance. We have importance already, and all of this stuff is just keeping people from seeing how important we truly are.
It's been wild the last month. We went from this to this on a land where there was a septic being installed. They broke through the ground floor and found multiple discoveries. It seems like every time they tried to dig a septic tank, they would find more pieces. And afraid to lose their land, this was something of what do we do? And as they kept uncovering these pieces, well, as you can see, it depicts something and shows things that we're not accustomed to. It's in Tula Hidalgo. We've been defaced by people stating that's in Guatemala. We've been clowned by Giorgio Tsoukalos on an ancient alien stating that this was all a hoax with 100% guarantee. Clearly, no research was done, no science was backed. He doesn't have a scientific degree, and so we just wanted to give you guys an update. The dig continues, as you can see here. Everything's been cleared out. Excavation continues. More pieces have been found. More things have been found underneath of here. It's likely that this could be a headstone of some form. And, like we do with decorative tombs and headstones, the real burials are underneath. And that's exactly what we're finding, is underneath these ground floors is literal burials and funerary type complexes, canoptic jars, Ouija boards, occult worship type practices, crystal skulls, many of them, lots of beads and different pieces of metal and bronze and brass. We've got actual stone structures built around these pieces and things that opened up that are clearly ancient construction, ancient stonework. These weren't just placed here, you know. And I think that that's really important as we continue to excavate and we continue to open up these chambers, to look at these type of things before you make radical assumption. And you know, obviously mainstream science and the news isn't covering this, but they're also not covering a lot of things very clearly that have to do with these type of topics. Nazca mummies, you know, people have claimed to find giants, I think 20 times in my lifetime, yet, you know, none of these findings has ever really been brought to the light. And we find all kinds of things, ceramics, pottery, and the styles of which we've never seen before. Whether it's a hoax or real, as a carving collector and a lapidary guy, I'd never seen anything like this. No cement company, no forgery artisans or people, great grand masters. I mean, I've reached out to many people here and nobody's ever seen anything like this before. And when you look at it with scanning electron microscopes and you get deep onto these stones, you'll see quickly that the science outweighs the non. So please, as I always say, it's printed on my shirts, trust the science, please.
When I first saw the photos from this dig, I was a little iffy on them. I kind of assumed this was just someone using AI to make photos of old relics in the dirt. But now that they've uncovered more artifacts, they've got so many photos of this stuff now, I just can't see it that way anymore. And several of these artifacts, they've got photos of it from multiple angles. AI is not really that good at that yet. And now they're releasing video footage of them cleaning this stuff up and sitting it on display tables. I'm completely convinced they're actually digging this stuff up out of the dirt. And they're supposed to be releasing a documentary style video soon showing the entire process of how they recovered all this stuff. I'm just glad they didn't stop at the beginning stages and get their local government involved, because then there's no way we would even be aware of this, because they would have certainly hidden this from us.
Have you ever heard about the court case that took place, Flat Earth versus Globe Earth, in 2019? There were two fellas that went to court for a civil case for some money. It was about like $10,000. This is the docket ticket for the court case. And it was Globe Earth versus Flat Earth. And whoever won the case would win the money. Well, after the case, which wasn't very long, both of the gentlemen showed all of their evidence. And who do you think won the court case? Who would you think won? You would imagine Globe wins, right? Because science tells us we live on a globe, and everyone tells us we live on a globe. I mean, that's what we were taught. So wouldn't Globe win in court? That's what I would think, but that's not what happened at all. Actually, Globe lost, and Flat Earth won, because the judge said there was zero evidence to prove that the globe was a thing, and the Flat Earth actually won the case. Now, the globe guy got very mad, and this is a true story. So the globe guy got pissed off about it, and he went back to court, and they tried this case again. You'll never guess what happened. Oh, maybe you will. Globe lost again for the second time. So my question is, if you can take this to court, and court can tell you that globe is BS and Flat Earth wins, then how are we not putting two and two together here? Because you can put people away for murder for life in court. Doesn't make any sense, does it? I don't think it makes any sense.
I found this really interesting, and I still do think it's interesting, but I feel like this guy is misleading everybody just a little bit. I looked into this actual case, and it's not a debate on the shape of the earth. This whole case was centered around a contract dispute. Zen Garcia, a flat earther, offered a $5,000 prize for anyone who could offer observable, unaided, real-world evidence of Earth's curvature. And a guy named William Thompson submitted what he thought was evidence that met that criteria. But what he submitted was some computer-generated model of some sort that he thought was good evidence. All this case was centered around was whether or not this Thompson guy actually met the advertised criteria for this contest or not. They did not rule that the Earth was flat because of a lack of evidence for the globe model. As far as I could find, they didn't even debate the shape of the Earth in that court case. It was simply centered around contract law. And the guy lost because he simply didn't present the correct evidence as far as the criteria required for him to try to win this prize money. But guys and gals, I'm going to go ahead and end that video right there. I hope you enjoyed these clips we watched together today. I apologize for not being back here on Monday like I said I would at the middle of last week. I fully intended to be here yesterday, but I completely forgot that I had jury duty yesterday morning. It only took about an hour and a half, fortunately, for me to get out of the courthouse, but by that point, I was so far behind schedule, having not started on my video before I went to the courthouse, and I just simply wasn't able to get a video out yesterday. But I hope everyone enjoyed this video. I will absolutely be back tomorrow, short of losing my life. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Don't forget to check out my merch store at barry-stepp.com, and don't forget to post the photo of your merch over in the Discord if you'd like to see your photo in one of my videos. But guys and gals, I hope everyone has a great, safe, fantastic rest of your day, and I will see you all in the next one.